Morris. And Clayton, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Thrilled to be on.
All right, now, Clayton, I know you and I here, kind of in the news business, we do a bunch of reading. And is that what kind of led you to develop this ReadQuick app?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is I'm pretty lazy. And I was obsessed with speed reading as a kid. I used to stay up late and watch, or just watch those infomercials, and I would con my parents into buying me these speed reading courses and things, and some of them would work, some of them wouldn't. So when the iPad launched, I'm a tech guy, I thought this is the perfect platform to build a speed reading app. So you could blaze through all of your news stories, everything that you're reading on a regular basis. And that's when I decided to lay the framework for building the app called ReadQuick. And we launched it on the iPad first, and it turns out I wish I would have launched it on the iPhone first. We just launched the iPhone version a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a huge hit, going to the top of the iTunes charts. Apple featured it, the whole thing. And turns out it probably makes more sense to have it on the iPhone, because if you think about it, you're standing in line at a Starbucks or the post office, and you want to read all your news articles in just a few minutes that you have instead of the hour that it would normally take you to read those news articles. That's the way it works. It just puts one word up on the screen, one word at a time, with a blazing speed.
And what I think is awesome about this is, of course, we hear all these complaints that people spend too much time on their phones, but the real problem is how much time we spend. So your app will actually bring more social interactivity, I think, back to the world, because I'll look down at my phone, read my article, and I'll be done, and I'll be back into the conversation. So I think it will actually help with more social interaction in the real world, because the real problem is we spend so much time reading and trying to get all this information in that it's really a time issue, not so much an antisocial issue.
Right. When people say that they can't multitask, in fact, you see about a 40% drop in productivity when you try to multitask, and it's just an impossible thing. And we're so consumed with all these notifications that are coming through on your phone constantly. So when I built ReadQuick, I said, I just want text on the screen, and that's it. No distraction. So if you're going to read that New Yorker article that would normally take you an hour and 15 minutes to read, and you can read it in 5 minutes,
wow.
Just focused on the text. You're not getting a text message from your wife. You're not getting other distractions. You're not jumping out to play Angry Birds. You just launch ReadQuick. You just go through your queue of articles that you've saved in Pocket or Instapaper. And we have some featured partners in there, too. And we're working on more right now. Some big, exciting news we're working on with Evernote and Readability and all these other partners. So, yeah, you're right about that. People cannot, you can't do these things. You say you multitask, and you're lying. If you say that you're good at it, you're not.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've read so many articles in which they've talked about people multitasking and how everyone does it, and there's a very small percentage of society that can actually do it properly. And what they've said is that, I've talked about this extensively on the show, is that the biggest problem we face nowadays is we keep hearing how people are working longer and longer hours, but that doesn't mean that they're actually doing more work. It just means that they're working longer hours. I think people are getting distracted, and the best way I think to help people out is to have them focus on one thing, finish that quickly, and then move on to the next.
And comprehension. That's one of the key things that we built into this app. We noticed that your brain sees words as photographs. So when you're standing in the middle of Times Square, your brain is seeing all of those signs. You might not be verbalizing them out loud, but your brain has seen them. And so with the app, your brain is seeing each word as a photograph. And then your comprehension also goes up by 30-40% as a result of focusing on one word at a time. And it's kind of remarkable, because so many people think that they can do all of these different tasks simultaneously, but they can't, because every time you switch to a new task, I speak about this when I go out and talk to businesses, is when you switch to a new task, your brain has to refocus on the new goal, then it has to start going after that new goal, and then if you switch back to the other task, you're wasting so much time throughout your day that you're not getting anything done, and you're not remembering what you've gotten accomplished.
Yeah, and I know that to be a fact, because, here in my radio studio, I got about 4 screens up, and I know that sometimes I think just maybe one screen I actually would be being able to get more information from just that one screen, focusing on that one news feed instead of focusing on all of them. And so I know the majority of people do that. They have, multiple tabs open up in their browser windows, and I know especially on their phone, as you pointed out, people are getting texts, they're playing games, they're reading articles, and if we just focus on the one, the one point, the one thing that
Yeah.
we'd be doing, we get through it quicker. Now, the app is available just for the iPhone right now and the iPad?
And the iPad, yeah. We're working on Android. People have been, I get emails every day and tweets every day. People say, when's it coming to Android? When's it coming to Android? Once in a while, I get a Windows Phone question. I don't know who that guy is.
Do you just ignore those?
Yeah, I mean, I would look. I like Windows Phone. I would love to, but there's just not the marketplace for it. So we're working on an Android version, but it's iOS right now only.
And speaking of iOS, you are known as the tech guy.
Yeah.
I know that this app is available and ready for the iOS 7. What was your opinion of the new operating software from Apple?
Well, I think it makes, I think when Apple first launched iOS, it was sort of an education process, right? Let's make it as easy as possible. Color, nice icons that make this whole new smartphone experience easy. So someone like my dad, who's 80 years old, can navigate through this, figure out how to text message, launch the camera app, maybe read a little, maybe read some news in one of the news apps that he's downloaded. But now we've had this education process, and so iOS 7 is really, I was worried it was going to be a little complicated for people, who are suddenly seeing this thing take over their phone. But the response that I've been seeing from users, tweeting me or just people I'm running into, they're saying, for instance, my weather guy, Rick, he said, I am in love with iOS 7. I can't believe it. And he says, because it's the first time I feel like I really had a smartphone. Because it's not dumbed down like it used to be. There's new features just sort of assume now you kind of know your way around a smartphone. So, if you can't figure it out, you'll watch a little tutorial and figure it out. But I think it's a really elegant design. And it just focuses on, sort of like what we did with ReadQuick, it only focuses on what you need. If you're in Calendar, there's not like some Corinthian leather in the Calendar app with fake stitching, and it's made to look like an address book because, oh my God, how am I going to wrap my head around this thing if it doesn't actually look like a calendar that I might have on my desk? It's just text, and we now know what it is. So I don't think it's as dumbed down as it used to be.
Yeah, I was very hesitant. I was very hesitant to move because I was reading all these negative reviews, and I had a friend of mine tell me, she's like, it's awesome. It's great.
Did you upgrade?
Yeah, I upgraded. Best thing I ever did. I've been telling everyone I love the transitions from, one screen to the next. I don't mind the new icons. I think it's great. I think it looks futuristic. I feel like I'm in a sci-fi movie every time I use my phone now.
Multitasking is great.
Yeah. And so I, like I said, I thought it was great. I just wanted to get your opinion on it because I know there's been a lot of comments out there about it. And once again, the ReadQuick app is compatible with the iOS 7 software. So if anyone's concerned about that, don't be. Now it's available in the App Store. How much is it in the App Store?
It's $4.99. It's a universal app, so you get it on both iPhone and Android. And that gets you a subscription also with an Instapaper, which is usually a paid service, but we partnered with Instapaper, so you don't have to worry about that cost.
Oh, nice.
About a year and a half worth of work to go into this. So, depleted my family savings.
Well, I just downloaded the app this morning, and from what I've seen, I tried it out a little bit this morning. From what I say, I highly recommend it. Once again, it is the ReadQuick app. It's available at the iTunes Store. As Clayton just said, it's available for the iPhone and the iPad. And Clayton, thanks so much for joining me this morning, and thanks for this app. You're going to save me a lot of time.
Oh, I appreciate it. And anyone has any questions in your audience, you can find me on Twitter at Clayton Morris. I answer every message, so if you can't figure something out, just @reply me, and I will walk you through it.
All right, great. Appreciate it, Clayton. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, once again, of course, that was Clayton Morris. You know him as the host of Fox and Friends on the Weekend and the developer of the new app, ReadQuick. And as I mentioned, Clayton and I are in the news business, and so we're reading a lot, but I know all of you out there are reading a lot as well. And this app will save you a bunch of time, and let's think about it, how much quicker you can get back to your conversation. You read that email, you read that article, whatever it is. Speed reading is definitely an art form and something that we all should learn. All right, let's take a quick break here. It is 8:17 on this Thursday morning. Tyler Cralle, I'll be right back.
You're listening to Tyler Cralle.
He ran a marathon backward once to see what second place looked like.
Losers!
980 The Wave.